The next subtropical I'd like to talk about is the macadamia nut tree. Macadamia nut tree is another, like banana, that most gardeners in the Bay Area simply refuse to believe can be grown in this climate. That's a mindset, it's not a reality. The truth is macadamias are very well adapted to the Bay Area's climate. I don't really think we'll ever be a serious competitor in the world marketplace for production of the fruit here. It takes quite a while to get one of these trees up to bearing, 10 to 15 years. And so it's not an economic thing for a farmer, but for a homeowner in a backyard garden, the macadamia nut is actually a pretty good idea. Here you can see this is after what was a fairly frosty winter. We've got really nice new growth coming out on the ends of all these stems. These are the flowers. They hang downward in large groups. The flowers are very, very fragrant, so if you like perfume in your garden, macadamias are a good choice. If you don't like perfume, put them at the back of the yard like I have, because the scent, sort of jasmine-like, is very strong. I mean, it'll just fill the area. Soon they'll be open. It's a little pink flower, and then the nuts are going to form along these stems. Currently, the nuts on this tree have been harvested. I take them down ahead of the roof rats and the squirrels, because almost any rodent that can get in this tree is going to steal these nuts. That will be your biggest obstacle to raising the macadamia nut in the Bay Area, is actually neighborhood rodents. There's a crop of young nuts from the last flowering in spring that are on the tree at the moment. Macadamia nut trees grow large. It's not unusual to find them 25 to 30 feet high. They're a moderately fast growing plant. They make an excellent evergreen screen in our climate. The plants don't require a lot of moisture. They're native to Queensland and Australia. They do tolerate drought. I think that my tree probably picks up a little bit of water in the root system from other watering going on nearby, but I really never directly water this plant. I do leave a considerable litter, though, of leaves, again, underneath the tree. I never pick up anything that ever falls from a macadamia. The only disease I've ever seen in macadamias here in the Bay Area is anthracnose. Every once in a while, we'll get a cold, wet spring, and you can see the tips of shoots dying from the disease. It hits our native sycamores, too, so there's nothing special about the fact that anthracnose can get into this tree. You see it in ash trees also. Actually, for me, here in the 15 years this tree's been in spot, I do believe it's only happened one time. So the only pests that I know of, by and large, are the rodents. There's a nice basket of macadamia nuts. They were harvested last fall. Nice and dry, ready for cracking. Where plants grow has not so much to do with the plant's ability, it has to do with our belief. If we believe that the plant will grow in a given area, there's a good possibility that we'll give it a try and it might succeed. If we don't believe it, we never try it, and so it never happens. The macadamia nut is one of those examples. Most of us associate this plant with Hawaii. It actually comes from Queensland, Australia. But we have this mindset that the plant grows only out there on the islands in the middle of the Pacific, so we don't try to put them in our backyard. Right here behind me is an excellent specimen. Now this is in Fremont, California, in the San Francisco Bay Area. You'll see here the juvenile nuts are hanging over here in the limbs all around me. It's got a pretty good crop on it this year. This tree here in front of us is a 15-year-old Beaumont. Beaumont seems to be one of the few varieties that's actually available as a grafted cultivar in the state. I think to get better nut set on the plants, it would require putting in seedlings from the Beaumont so you get good cross-pollination. This plant has stood here alone for years. I'm now finally resorting to growing myself some seedling plants. This basket is filled with nuts that came from the last harvest. They were taken down from the tree between February and April. They've been dried here so that the shells on the outside, or the husks of the nuts rather, have begun to crack. This flat contains macadamia nuts. The plants are approximately 2 months old. It takes them somewhere in the vicinity of about 30 days to sprout the seed. The seeds are prepared by removing them from the husks and placing them into a soil medium. No particular special care or concerns with this. Just making sure the seed stays relatively warm. I'm using a heater cable underneath the seeds that was set for 76 degrees. One of the reasons that I bother to raise macadamia nut from seed in California, because there seems to be a limited number of varieties that are actually available here within the state. The parent of these seedlings is a Beaumont. Beaumont is a hybrid macadamia nut between two of the species trees. There isn't enough pollination as far as I'm concerned in my mac orchard, so I'm raising seedling trees. The seedling trees should be genetically variable, and I'm going to use some of these seedlings as pollinators for my Beaumont. Here at the potting bench, I have some macadamia nut trees that were grown in open bottom tree tubes so that they air prune on the bottom. The trees are approximately 60 days from germination. Using 1 gallon nursery pots over here in order to be able to containerize them for the first stage of their development. For now, here's the finished product. We've transferred macadamia nuts from the greenhouse out of their liners into 1 gallon pots and set them down here in the summer sun so they can grow up a while. We're going to go ahead and move them onto 5 gallons later on this summer if they size up enough. Otherwise, if they don't, we'll have to wait till next spring before they shift upward. Well, if you do well growing macadamia nuts around here, you're going to have to own one of these. This is a macadamia nut cracker. We take our nut right here and place it in the jaw. Take the handle, push it forward till we hear the crack. These are hard little suckers. Gonna have to give the nut a half turn and then maybe sometimes a little even more in order to get this busted open up that we can actually get inside there. We don't want to pulverize the nut. Right here, absolutely delicious. There's nothing like fresh grown macadamia nuts, I'm telling you. It's just so hard to imagine that it's mostly our belief system that keeps us from doing this. People plant walnuts around here, they plant almonds, but almost nobody, except the most adventurous gardeners, will plant the macadamia nut. There's a nice basket of macadamia nuts. They were harvested last fall. Nice and dry, ready for cracking.